everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that was purchased by Microsoft and will now be releasing episodes on Steam. I'm Matt, aka Matt
Damn.
Fondude, and who are you?
I'm James, aka James04E.
And we're just blazing out of the gate with some fun Microsoft key trivia point things.
Yes.
I'm referencing seeing games like Diablo 4 on the Steam main page is being promoted right now. Um, it's currently 25% off because it just came to Steam, I guess. And that's it's still a little weird. Or it's coming to Steam, or no, it's on
It
Steam
says
now. It's
now
just
available.
yeah.
Wait,
Wild.
I need to, I need to look into this. It better not. It better be available when it says now available.
No, I believe it is. So Microsoft, I think this was like vaguely old news, or maybe it just happened, or like it actually officially
um.
went through.
So previously they've been trying to do it, but they were getting blocked, and it just officially went through like this week.
Yeah, Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard and is now just Steam. You get to play these games on Steam. We're putting these games on Game Pass. It's a free for all.
Wait. Diablo. You have to buy Diablo 4 again.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Bruh.
that's just how it is. It kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's.
if they defunct their launcher, they'll
Yeah,
like give us the
they should
games.
probably do that. Actually,
Uh,
no, they don't actually need to do that. But if it
yeah,
means that I have to only play for Diablo 4 once, then yeah, do it.
yeah. I'm kind of bummed too. I feel like when a game exists outside of Steam, and it's gonna sound like we're shilling for Steam and being like we should have a monopoly, but like Steam. But it's just a convenience thing of like I don't think of games like they don't exist to me outside of Steam when I'm looking through games. So I will. I mean, at least BattleNet was kind of its own thing, but I'll just forget that they exist. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, especially when they're not always tied to a so in BattleNet's case, right, it was all Blizzard games, where Blizzard was both the studio and the publisher. Whereas
mhm.
like some games, like for Origin, for example, right, like EA owns a lot of games. So like I don't necessarily think like EA, oh, it's on this launcher because EA published it, but it's made by uh, back flippy double front flip studios.
My favorite independent studio.
Yes.
Do those were the guys who released Cozy Farming Game right this year?
Damn. Yeah. So
Cozy
true.
Farming Game TM. Um, but yeah, it's weird. It's still weird that Blizzard is now like we're seeing games, and we might see like new Call of Duty releases like releasing on Steam, not like 20 years later for $60. Um,
Didn't they release on Steam before? Before it was before sometime. Like I thought the Call of Duty games not being on Steam was like immediately. It was like a few years ago thing.
no, they're still not like on the newest. Well, I don't know, but like I know that for a while it would be the previous Call of Duty would release on Steam, but whatever was currently being played would not release on Steam. I don't think like Cold War
Uh,
when we were playing Cold War, I don't think that was on Steam. I don't know. It
yeah,
looks like it's on Steam
I
now.
feel like this started with like Modern Warfare.
Are they on Modern Warfare 3 now? Isn't that the thing?
Yeah, but they released two in a row for Modern Warfare, so it's a little weird.
Okay, so 3 is coming to Steam. I don't remember what the pattern was, but for a while it was weird where
Okay, I actually did just look it up. So the article is called quote Call of Duty stint on BattleNet was supposedly a quote resounding failure. And apparently it was on BattleNet from starting in 2018.
maybe I just didn't care to follow it cuz I mean, the only last Call of Duty game
This
I
isn't
played, oh
available
my
for.
god, maximum mic
Yeah,
smacking
sheesh, that was
via
crazy.
James. James is like the rhythm game of mic smacking. He's just like he's get
Yeah,
that perfect score every time.
yeah. Like I had the left side of my nose was itchy, and my left hand was like right under my mic, and so I'm like, oh, I'll lift my left hand instead of my completely free right hand.
James is going for the
And yeah,
audience full clear, perfect combo, true combo.
yep, 100%.
Um but yeah, so like I guess maybe I just stopped noticing Call of Duty. But anyway, it's cool to have these games on Steam now. I don't know. Is there anything you particularly might revisit if now that it'll be on Steam? I
Um,
guess.
I almost played Overwatch again because it got on Steam. Then I was like, nah,
Yeah.
not really feeling it.
Hey,
Um,
I think Overwatch 2 could be at a turning point of maybe not being sucking and terrible, under new management. Maybe they'll
mhm.
actually want to make money and make
I
games
hear
that
the new
people want to
season
play.
is good. Like the events look kind of cool. Might try it out.
I mean, and I remember when we started this podcast, like I was playing Overwatch 2, um, and I'm like, it's still fun. It is a fun game when you're playing it. I mean, competitively, it is not. I can't imagine anyone is having fun.
Hmm.
Um, but on quick play, you can kind of have fun. If you turn off the chat and you ignore everything and you just play it as a
Oh
game where
boy.
you shoot things, it can be fun. It can have moments like the game itself is fun.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm hopeful. I'm not one of those naysayers that's like I hope it dies. Like I enjoy that franchise. I hope they actually fix it.
Hmm.
Um, But anyway, James, what have you been up to recently? Do you have any news or games you've been playing?
Not too much that's new. I did do a little more of the Cyberpunk DLC. I got to the point where they basically say like, "Hey, wait 2 days," and I'm
Okay.
like, "Well, on one hand, I don't want to break my immersion by skipping 2 days, but on the other hand, I kind of have nothing to do for 2 days, so I just kind of sat around and like drove places. I think I've got like half a day left." And I was just like, I'll do my half day wait another time.
I think V is the kind of guy though who's like, oh, I'm dying. I only have days to live, but also spends like an actual month just like helping a guy with his like dick implant
Yeah,
and running around like making cheeseburgers and stuff, just like doing dumb stuff.
yeah.
Um, but he has the sickness cough that all like protagonists that have the sickness do to show that they're
I
sick.
I feel like they did that at the start of the game, and then midway through they were like, yeah, this is kind of annoying. And then they just brought it back at the end of the game because it's like, wait, he's actually supposed to be dying. Like that was
Well,
actually that's the Breaking Bad method. Actually, remember at the
um,
start of Breaking Bad, where Walter to just hack a lung every 10 seconds, and then they were like, wait, this is kind of annoying. We should probably not do this.
they kind of do it in the game. Like I think if you play the game like I did on this replay. Also, I
Hmm.
am also in the DLC. I've actually taken a break because I like binged through the entire game and did all like a lot of the side content, like pretty much all of it. Um, and then I got to the DLC and I'm like, I'm good for a bit.
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, so like if you play that game at the beginning, if you do the story missions, you're coughing, right? If you do the
Hmm.
story missions, I feel like if you didn't do any side content and just did story missions, it would be a reasonable amount of sickness. But if you do one
Yeah.
story mission, you're hacking up along and then do everything in the game. And that basically like weeks or like even a month goes by and you never
Yeah.
really notice it. Sometimes there's certain side quests that you start coughing and stuff in.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like it's weird because that whole time pressure thing in like an open world game, it doesn't really work very well if you actually like implement it, like Dead Rising did, for example. And I
mhm.
always thought so. On one hand, it was kind of cool, but on the other hand, it was really annoying
Yeah, that
because
always
like
stresses me out. I can't
yeah,
deal.
because it's like I'm sitting here and it's basically saying like yeah, you can't really like take your time. And so I get caught up in something really fun. It's like oh, I have a day left and I'm not halfway through the game. What do?
Yeah, I mean, at least Dead Rising is designed to in that way. The
Yeah.
problem is it taps into my brain of like, all right, well, don't miss anything, do it perfect. If you miss something, reload the game.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
so it
very
kind of hurts to play.
yeah, it really encourages like speed running and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of speed running, actually in comparison, I do kind of like the way that Risk of Rain does it, where it's like it won't outright end the game, but it'll get harder.
Hmm.
Um, obviously there's no cap on it, so there's a point where it gets so hard that you can't play, but it's still it's like there's a little more agency in there.
Yeah, and in Risk of Rain 2, if you for people who haven't played, there's a mechanic where the difficulty rises as you play the game, and there's a
Hmm.
capping point where it goes into like it goes from like normal to like hard to very hard to whatever. And then it goes to like ha ha ha, which is basically the peak of difficulty.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if it gets harder
I
than
think it keeps scaling because you can see these like little like divider lines, and
mhm.
normally that's where all the difficulties are. But haha, it just like kind of keeps going with the same text, but there's dividers still.
But if you were to go to the final boss on that difficulty, it's not going to make too much of a difference at the end of the day. The time limit.
Yeah.
If you looped, that's another story. But that's basically for like if you're already OP enough, you think you can go around again.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, that's a good one because it actually has it has the time mechanic and it is relevant, but it's not like you don't feel bad if you miss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shows to Pikmin 1. Pikmin 1 is a game that has a time limit that I think I was able to overcome. It is reasonable. Like
Hmm.
Pikmin 1, I think they give you like 30 days to beat the game, like 30 in-game days to beat the game or something.
Damn.
And I think I had plenty of time. I think I got everything and I had plenty of time or like I there was some optional stuff I didn't get or something.
Hmm.
But normally something like that where you save your game, right?
Yeah.
And you run out of time. If you like played that game and you didn't get all the things, I think you could theoretically save at a point where you literally cannot beat the game and you'd have to restart the whole game.
Hmm.
Um, that would normally freak me out, but I think with like semi good time management, it's not that bad. But still, like I prefer a game that doesn't give you that strict of a timeline. Um, I guess another game like Persona, the Persona series, is
Yeah.
similar where every in game you have a limited time to do everything. You can't do everything on one run, and maybe you could if you were really optimal, but like you shouldn't try to do that.
Hmm.
Um, but even those games more recently have been more relaxed on what you can and can't do and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Going into my week a little bit since it's as relevant. I've been playing Rune Factory 3 Special a ton.
Mm.
Are you familiar? Did we talk? We talked about this, I think, briefly. But are you
I
familiar with
believe
these?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I vaguely remember us talking about
yeah.
it.
It's the Harvest Moon franchise that it was a whole thing I talked about.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like a fantasy Harvest Moon and a lot more focus on combat, and it's actually pretty fun. Combat's simple but like fun combo-y combat.
Yeah.
But that game has everyday system, and there's different events, and like it tracks to the years and stuff. Um, Now normally these types of games stress me out weirdly enough because it feels like I need to be optimal every day. Like I want to min max everything. I don't want to
Hmm.
waste a minute in the game. Um, I really don't think these games are meant to be played like that to be enjoyed. You're supposed to take your time, but it always feels like time is like ticking down. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I got that.
I did look it up the other day after playing for a couple hours that I don't think there is actually a time limit. You can take as long as you want. It tracks your time and how many years and stuff in the game, but you can do anything. Like I don't think it actually matters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so that's good. At least that made me feel a little bit better about like not min maxing. Like I'm up at 3 a.m. chopping optimal wood before I go to bed.
Hmm.
Um, But yeah, like I don't know. Do you ever find that in games? I think we did talk about this before, but like games, think a mechanic in a game that you just can't play the game. It just ruins your experience because it's just like you can't deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like examples.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, while you're thinking, I can give you an example of another one that really. I think we did talk about this before, but
Sure.
Dishonored and how Dishonored and Deus Ex both have a mechanic where it's like you can play the whole game in stealth, and if you do that, you get a little check mark and get an achievement at the end for beating the game with no one seeing you
Yeah.
and doing everything non-lethal and stuff like that. And actually, non-lethal in games, any game that has non-lethal, it's like, well, that's the only option. I can't, like, I'm not going to do lethal. That's if it's
Hmm.
non-lethal, that's the only way to play. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that sometimes in games?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like that in Cyberpunk because there's like sometimes there'll be a mission where they say like, ideally, I want no casualties. I'm like, okay, like
Hmm.
let me get out the blunt weapon. Let me put on that mod that makes my weapon non lethal. Like Jesus, let me make sure I
Yeah.
don't accidentally hit a dead body or a not unconscious body to make it a dead body. And then it's like, and then I find out, wait, this isn't Borderlands. Doing these optional things doesn't actually get me anything.
Yeah, I did the so I was using blunt weapons, so I default just had a non-lethal, which was nice.
Hmm.
I did all of the Cyber Psychos non-lethal, and I thought I would get an achievement. I don't think I got an achievement. I think there was just one dialogue that was like, "You did it, non-lethal. Good job, V. I'll look into this." And then that was like the one line of dialogue. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh." I mean, it was fine, but like, uh, yeah, I really tried to push myself away from that in at Cyberpunk. Where did you ever do this when like anytime you were prompted with the takedown? I used to only do non-lethal for some reason. Now I don't care. I would just like kill everyone. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I did that as well. Then
I
I
mean, you
slowly
have
realized
to
that it
hide
didn't
them
matter.
too. Yeah. I think I was like kind of role play. I'm like, oh, I don't want my V to be kind of like this like killer, whatever. And I think that's what happens in certain games. Like
Hmm.
in Red Dead 2, you want to be super good boy points. Like in Red Dead 2, the way I played it, I did full good, never robbed anyone. You know, you want to be full good
Yeah.
boy. Um, Same thing with like Infamous, and I think I'm starting my villain arc of like, no, I want to do the full evil route in a lot of games. It's more
Hmm.
fun. Well, I say that it's in theory it's more fun, but usually it's less fleshed out.
Yeah.
You know, um, like Undertale recently. Well, that's a little bit different because that was like an optional thing, but like just using it, just fighting everyone, that like route is very much not fleshed out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's a weird like it feels like it's punishing you for using non the like Metal Gear Solid 5, for example.
Hmm.
Did you play Metal Gear Solid 5?
No, I didn't. I actually watched a walkthrough for it though.
Okay. That would be. Have you played any of the Metal Gear Solid games?
Not in full. No.
Oh, you should when the collection comes out. Hopefully it's not terrible, but like when the collection
Hmm.
comes out for PC, you should play all the Metal Gear Solid games. And
Yeah,
then
definitely.
maybe if collection 2 comes out, play those and then play 5. Cuz 5 is really good. I mean, they're all pretty good, but like 5 gameplay wise is really good.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, like that game I did like pretty much fully non-lethal because it makes you feel bad, I guess. But like the problem is that the non-lethal options in that game are like a sniper and a pistol, and then there's like 1,000 lethal options and like a power suit and all that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's always a weird choice. I feel like I'm like there's no a lot of the times. I mean, maybe it'll actually affect the story, but a lot of the times, it feels like it's just myself holding myself back for an arbitrary reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely know what you mean with that.
Did you think of any mechanics that like bounce you off a game?
Oh man. Not particularly, but I've just done some silly stuff to hold myself back in some games. Like I don't know, like in like Halo, there would just be some weapons I wouldn't use in single player, and then I would like run out of ammo, and I'm like, well, on the ground there's only this weapon, and I want to use it, so I guess I'm just gonna melee. And then I died, and then I'd do the exact same thing, and I'd run out of ammo again.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, sometimes that is like half of the fun of like you'll get stubborn and you'll be like, I could easily do it this way, but I want to do it this way, and it's harder. I find I do that with puzzle games sometimes where I'm like, I know the actual solution, but I'd rather do it a dumb way and
Hmm.
do it my way, you know.
Yeah.
I definitely used to be a can't use consumables kind of guy, like never use consumables. I've stopped caring about that as much. I try to actually use them. Although we talked about this, cyberpunk
Yeah,
consumables are a joke.
dude, I just sell them.
Yeah. Although there are some like in like the DLC and in general that are just like drink this. It's like a permanent max HP upgrade, and I'm like that's wild.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like Cyberpunk has. Okay, let's talk a little bit about. I don't want to title this episode another Cyberpunk episode because we've done 4 or 5 of those in a row.
Yeah, Jesus.
Um, but a little thing about the DLC is I've noticed, and Witcher 3 has this too, of like DLC adding some unnecessary weird mechanic that is just like, oh, this changes the game, but it's just kind of unnecessary. The new like skill tree they added, like the relic skill tree, which seems
Yeah.
mostly terrible unless you're like using a very specific build that it actually is good for.
Yeah.
I briefly looked at the skill tree, and besides the all the hands got upgrades, which is kind of cool.
Hmm.
Um, but I was looking, and it's just like none of these things seem applicable to what I want to do. So I'll just like throw this in
Yeah.
the trash.
I kind of felt I felt a little similar when I was looking at that skill tree. I think the problem with it is, so I think what they actually want to do is these are meant to be like base, like just upgrades to your character that like they effectively could have put in as like base mechanics as it makes the combat feel better. But
Hmm.
I understand why they want to put in a skill tree. The problem I have with it is that you can actually get enough points to just get everything.
Hmm.
So there's no real choice going on. It's just a matter of like the order that you unlock them in.
See, I'm kind of like, I mean, I guess I love the fact I just want to be able to get everything and swap out. I could
Mhm.
see maybe a better solution is let you pick like one of the trees and then you could reset it at any time. So you can't get
Yeah,
everything, but like go by tree.
yeah.
Um,
Like I mean, you can effectively freely respec in the game anyway, so that would like
yeah.
make sense.
Um, I know it is also weird. The DLC is only really accessible like toward the end of the game. And
Hmm.
I feel like I'm getting these upgrades and doing whatever, and then the game's gonna end. You know what I mean? Unless you did the
Yeah,
DLC, then like maybe the better path would have been doing the DLC as soon as it became available, like rushing the story, doing the DLC, then doing all the side content. Um,
yeah. Apparently, there you can like start the game at a point where, or you can start a new game at a point where like you can do the DLC already. Like I
mhm,
think it'll make you like level 25 or something, and give you some like pretty decent gear. And you're I think you're like you're not halfway through the story. You're like a little less. I don't remember what they said the exact point was,
mhm.
but like yeah, I think they actually wanted people to do that. Now I'm like thinking back, but I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel. I waited till the end, and now it's gonna. It kind of feels like one after replaying it. I'm kind of over the game because I've played so much of it
Yeah.
already that it's like hard for me to care to actually play the new content, which is unfortunate. That's just how I work with games.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a little weird because so I unlike you, I didn't restart for the DLC, and I was kind of afraid of that. Where it's like by the time I get to the DLC, I'll be like, well, I don't really want to play Cyberpunk anymore. 'Cause,
mhm,
I already had like 100 hours in the game, right? Like off my first playthrough, and so it's like obviously I'm not going to put in that time again, but I wouldn't even think I'd be willing to put in like a fraction of that time into a new character. I've already got this like old one that has all the things that I want, and I can just do the DLC.
yeah. I mean, I hated my old character, so like I'm glad. Like I actually got to experience the game for the first time around this time, basically in
Hmm.
terms of actual gameplay. Um, but
Yeah,
I
this is
am at the
probably the
point.
best time to like. The DLC is probably fantastic for new players, or like the
Yeah.
entire experience. Like experiencing Cyberpunk for the first time right now is probably insane.
Oh yeah, no, it is definitely it is actually released now as opposed to when it was released.
Yeah.
It feels like it's like a completed game.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I will beat it at some point. It is cool. It does feel a little weird just because it's like my character. I also hit that point like you mentioned where I'm now getting skills that it's like I don't really even care anymore. Like I got pretty much everything I cared about.
Yeah,
Um,
that is kind of my
and
problem
yeah.
with the new skill trees. Is like the each individual skill is very strong, but like You actually have too many points now.
Yeah, or honestly, maybe not enough like passives or something, or like pacing of it, because it's like
Yeah,
I've got everything that I'm playing on hard. I'm unstoppable. I literally just for fun will like do the max tech. Like I will go through waves of max tech like police for fun and cannot die. And it's
yeah,
like I'm still getting stronger, but like every piece of content remaining in the game will be like a cakewalk. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like I personally play on very hard, and the thing I've run into is like, so I have essentially maxed out body, reflex, and tech,
Yeah,
and
that's
this
what I'm
is
running to basically.
and this is basically with I effectively had all this before going past the original level cap. And and I looked at these extra points and I'm like, well, there's literally nothing left for me to get in my skill trees, right? Because like I have all the stuff for my melee weapons. I have all the stuff for my upgrades and things like that from the tech tree, which I could even unspec now because I've got all my ideal gear. And, I've got all the stuff for like the few guns that I use. Like I have the shotgun perks and like I have this like crazy like every time I reload my gun like releases an electric charge or something like that. And so I've got all the stuff in like the tech tree to amp my explosive damage and things like that. And it's like, well, I guess I could go into the cool tree, but like I don't want to do throwing knives, and I don't really want to do like snipers or anything. And my pistols already do more than enough damage, so it's kind of like there's just not really much here for me. And then I obviously don't want to go into intelligence because I don't want to do like a netrunner build. So I'm
Yeah,
just
and
kind of
hack those caches
I'm just
and
kind of sitting here like, well, I mean, I guess I'll just like I'll put the points in cool because like maybe there's some kind of fun stuff like I can
maybe dialogue choices.
yeah I can crouch walk faster.
I
That's
guess, yeah.
nice. Uh, but yeah, I feel like there's generally not like not enough options across the board that justify the level cap increase. I guess because I
Mhm.
feel like they thought of the level cap increase, then they did the skill tree.
Well, I also I think did the level cap come with the expansion or the 2.0 update?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that both the skill tree and the level cap came with the same thing. I think they're both the 2.0 update.
Yeah. I think the expansion just raising the level cap is just the thing to do regardless. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
it
it,
always is just, oh, we made it more, and now there's
yeah,
super skills.
it would have been a lot better with the old system. So don't get me wrong, I prefer the new perks and stuff like that. But I think that there was more justification for a level cap increase with the old skill trees.
All right, let's move off of Cyberpunk. We've talked about it for 5 or 6 podcasts now.
Yes.
I think we should move on to something else. Did you play anything else in your gaming endeavors?
I didn't play too much else, but there are actually two things that happened this week. First, apparently Post Malone is doing a collaboration with Apex Legends for like an in-game event,
Okay.
which is pretty cool because Apex never gets these like they never get these like fourth wall breaking events like Fortnite does or anything
Yeah,
like that.
but it's a slippery slope. I just saw. Did you see the new clip? It seems like every week we talk about a new thing being added to that Call of Duty Warzone or whatever
Oh
game.
yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Like they added like Spawn
No, they added.
or
They added a character from an anime called Helsing. They added
oh
Alucard.
right, Alucard. Yeah, yeah. I saw that too.
So there's just like, and also like, I don't know. Maybe I did like. Maybe I should watch this. Like, is this like a really popular? I'm assuming it's a really popular anime. Like, why is this character in Call of Duty, of all things?
Yeah, I don't know. So there are some studios like the like the people behind Call of Duty, whichever Call of Duty studio it is, um, and like Epic Games. I feel like they'll just like collab with anyone, regardless of like the context or anything. And then meanwhile, Apex is like, well, we we're very limited because if we collab with fucking like Snoop Dogg, obviously it's gonna be weird because we actually have like very deep lore. I don't think Snoop Dogg's gonna be in the Titanfall universe, but man, I
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm just looking at this. Skeletor is also in the game.
Skeletor. Wait, I have to look this up.
Skeletor and then the two Diablo characters are in the game, and Spawn.
Skeletor. Oh my god.
I don't. But the did you see the model for Alucard in game? It looks like someone modded Smash Ultimate and like replaced like body swapped him with like Captain Falcon or something.
Yeah,
It,
some people were saying that the dots on his glasses looked like eye pupils.
what
It,
is this game?
and
Like I don't
I just can't unsee
understand.
it.
I'm like looking at this game. Just you have like gun effects. Like I can't. It's so visual overload.
Yeah,
This it is the equivalent of those Family Guy stim videos with the like Subway Surfers. Like you're running around as an anime
God.
character and you're shooting these bullets that like have effects. Like everything is an effect. Like I don't understand how you could keep like track of
God,
anything.
oh my god! I'm watching the Skeletor trailer right now. This dude gets on like a buggy and it looks ridiculous. Like,
it,
okay, okay. So there are certain things, like certain other series that I think are like fine for Call of Duty. Like they did like an Evil Dead collab. I think that's really cool, especially because of zombies. Like, it makes sense. They could like even I even think the Godzilla collab was not that out there. Generally speaking, because those movies always have the military just shooting at Godzilla for as if it's gonna do something, right? But like, I just cannot see the Skeletor collab. Like, where did this come from?
it's cool, I guess. With like the I don't know. Um, I'm trying to. Okay, wait. So, wait a minute. So, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Oh, okay. It says 2022. Never mind. So, Modern Warfare 3, which is ridiculous. That we're it's like the new Modern Warfare 3 is coming out
Yeah.
November 10th. So, that is the newest Call of Duty, I guess.
Hmm.
Um because honestly, I was looking at this clip and I'm like, man, Call of Duty is fun to shoot the guns in. And it looks like Maple Story at this point with the amount of like effects that are going
Jesus
on.
Christ.
So I'm like, maybe I probably would enjoy this. Um, but I'm not gonna buy. Like I had to Google search what is the latest Call of Duty because I'm not gonna buy that right now if a new one's coming out, and I'm not gonna pay $70 for some Garbo game.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. Whatever. Call of Duty is continues to be inaccessible to me.
Yeah.
Um,
But
wild.
I guess like at least the good thing with the Apex crossover is Post Malone like actually plays the game. Like he actually, like I'm pretty sure he streamed it a few times.
Hmm.
So like it's not like it's just some like random collab, right? Like he's actually like he actually like networks with the devs and stuff like that. But uh, God, it I'm just I'm looking at these Call of Duty crossovers and it's just, man,
They're not
some of these
like
are so
bad. It's just
ridiculous.
bizarre. It's just bizarre to see. And like
Yeah.
it doesn't it feels wrong. It feels like that old meme video. Do you remember Counter Strike for Kids? I don't know
Yeah.
if you even know. Where it's
Yeah.
just like a Gmod mod of like it's like Counter Strike for kids and it's like a bunch of skins and they're throwing Pokeballs and stuff. But we've reached that point in real life.
Okay. You
Um
know what really throws me off about some of these? Like the Lilith one in Modern Warfare 2, it looks exactly like the character in Diablo. Like it's not the same art style. That's
I
the biggest problem, I think. These characters don't match the Call of Duty art style and they don't try to like localize them.
That is true. No, it is very like Fortnite works because it's cartoony. It almost feels like Smash Brothers, like anything goes.
Yeah.
It's like hype, like realistic Warzone, and then just like direct rip character models placed in Call of Duty. It just feels weird. And then, I mean, the skins is one thing. I think the skins are kind of cool. Whatever. It can be distracting and is overall kind of annoying, but I get it. They make money. Also
Mhm.
weird that skins in a first person game, but whatever. Um, I get it. It's the like hit effects and like the weapon effects and like every single thing you can squeeze monetization in has been like monetized. Like every aspect of your kit is like I can buy skins and this skin and I can buy like damage effects and kill effects and like everything. And that's cool, I guess, to a point, but then there comes a point where it's like it's so much going on. It looks so like busy. and
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, so I just
Uh,
finished watching this Call of Duty trailer, and I think the craziest thing to me is so at the end it says like pre-order Modern Warfare 3 and you get like the zombie ghost skin. And so it actually just hit me. I'm pretty sure they mean both in Modern Warfare 2, in Warzone, and in Modern Warfare 3.
no,
That's
it
just
is.
so
It's like
that's just
shared.
so insane to me to think about. It reminds me of remember when people caught the 2K devs, they used the logo from like last year's 2K game for the current one?
Well, it was also like the exe file was just called
Yeah.
NBA 2K like 22 or whatever.
Yeah, that actually gives off the same energy.
But they shouldn't be fully like with these games. They're live service games. They like Call of Duty is weird though, and because there's like two franchises like at a time. But like realistically, at this point, the 2K games or whatever, like those, they are the same game every time, but they should be. Just build on what you have, you know? The reason they release them obviously is because they can resell them, and some people who play those games only play those games, so they buy 2K. They buy like a $70 game once a year, and they'll pay like $100 in microtransactions like
Mhm.
once a year. You know, so I get it from a it makes money perspective, but they all really are just games as a service. You know, at
Yeah,
the
I
end of the day.
remember I remember once somebody described Call of Duty as like a subscription service to me, and I'm like, that's like great, but it kind of doesn't make much sense when you really think about it because it's like the only reason people move on to the new Call of Duty game is because it's because it's new, not because the old one is like outdated or something.
Yeah, and like they have to reset your progress because there's nothing to do otherwise, really. Like you need to start with like bad guns. Plus they can sell guns for real money to like skip the wait. But it's like the problem with the Call of Duty games is half of the time it's like, all right, I'll start a new game. All right, I got to grind for the gun I want. And I guess nowadays, in some of the more like contemporary Call of Duty games, it's not enough to grind for attachments. You need to go. It's like, oh, I want to get a M16 attachment. I better grind my Mac 10 to level 15 to unlock my M16 attachment. Just now, it's starting to get like unrelated weapons, which is probably an attempt to get people to use weapons that aren't just the meta weapon.
Hmm.
um, and honestly, I found the unlocking aspect fun in Call of Duty. Like it gave me a reason to want to keep playing matches. Like I enjoyed building towards something. So
Hmm.
like, and again, I do think they are fun to play. It's just you can't keep playing them over and over again. You gotta pace yourself. Like what we did with we bought it on sale. We bought like Cold War, played
Hmm.
that. I think skipped 2 games or something. um, I think that in moderation, Call of Duty can be fun. When you check in,
Yeah.
if you were playing that every year, it has to be exhausting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
hmm but we can look forward to Microsoft owned Call of Duty now. I
Man.
guess
Yeah, that's gonna be something.
wild. Um, it is weird that we can be like kind of like I'm kind of excited to see if they fix Overwatch in some way, but it is also a little like dystopian nightmare to be like, yay, Microsoft buying everything, let's root for these
Yeah.
companies. Same thing with Disney. Everyone's like, oh, they bought Fox, so now we can get X-Men, and that like I'm like, oh, that's cool, but it's a little scary that one company owns like everything.
Yeah, so my view on the whole deal, I think it's generally not like great just because of monopoly stuff, but I do think at the very least, it'll help with Activision Blizzard's management.
Oh yeah, I mean they were like a
Yeah,
kind of a sinking dumpster fire,
yeah,
especially with their
especially with like
conduct.
Bobby Kotick resigning and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
that's definitely good. Like I can't
yeah,
deny that.
for sure.
But one kind of funny thought I had though is remember when Bungie wanted to get away from Microsoft and now they went to Activision, now they're just back.
Yeah, but I feel like the Microsoft of today is a lot different than the Microsoft
Yeah,
of then.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I agree. The X, the Xbox One happened. They had to change.
yeah, I'm hoping that we're not like putting too much hope into like Microsoft to fix everything.
Hmm.
But I'm cautiously optimistic that I think at least they'll maybe I think they're smart enough to realize that hey, even something like an Overwatch, right? It's like people like the IPs, like people love these franchises and IPs,
Hmm.
but they just made a bunch of poor business decisions that ruined like people's faith, the consumer faith in the. Blizzard used to be they can
Yeah.
do no wrong, and then they ruined all faith in the products.
Oh yeah, I mean
Um,
you can tell what people think of Blizzard just by going to Diablo 4 on Steam and looking at the first review.
Honestly, if they just like if they could win some brownie points if they just ran back. They're just like, hey, Overwatch 2, guess what? We are doing the PvE mode, or like or hey, we're making a show. Like if they just everyone said this forever, but it's like if they do the Overwatch Netflix show
To be
that's like
fair,
one season, everyone would watch it.
we were already
Everyone would
pretty
like it.
close to that because didn't they do like that like 3 episode YouTube show or whatever?
Yeah, they did
And
a
I think
thing.
they said like they want to like test the waters, see if like people would enjoy that stuff. But
I think people forget very quickly about things like Cyberpunk when that was like being shit on. Like they released the anime and everyone's like, "We love Cyberpunk now." Like people forget very quickly if they do one thing they enjoy.
well, I guess to be fair with Cyberpunk, people like they played the game on launch, thought it was shit, didn't pick it up, and then like the people who changed their minds weren't the ones who were playing consistently, like through all the updates.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I don't know. Like it's one of those things where everyone's like, "Overwatch too bad, Overwatch too bad." But if they did one thing that was like interesting, people would be like, "I always loved Overwatch. This is the best franchise."
Hmm.
You know, it's very it's so easy to see a future in which they turn the tides and everyone likes it again. I don't know about
Yeah,
competitive play, competitive players playing the game, but at least at a cat, like I think they should kind of target more. Well, I don't know. I was like maybe target more casual, but the kids aren't playing Overwatch. They're not playing 5-person team based shooters. If they are, I guess they're playing
yeah,
Valorant, maybe. Um, but they're playing like they're playing games. Not these games, not Overwatch. Overwatch feels like for like our generation and just I mean, the characters appeal to a lot of people, but like I feel like the gameplay is not something that I can't see like my little nephew like I'm booting up a round of quick play Overwatch to play on my
yeah,
Xbox. Like it's not a console game really. Like
yeah.
people, I can't
Overwatch came
imagine.
out at a weird time. Now that I think
Hmm.
about it, like it was such a bizarre year to release a a team versus team versus team like shooter that wasn't like a team versus team, not a tactical shooter. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Oh, like a
No,
team
no,
based, like a
just a
hero
team based
shooter,
shooter, I
whatever.
guess. Like team based non tactical shooter.
A Team Fortress 2 killer, as everyone was
Oh
calling it.
man.
That was completely different gameplay.
Uh, yeah. That would. God, that was an era.
Oh man.
Remember when Battlefield 3 came out and they were like calling themselves the Call of Duty killer? That was actually that was a good time to be a gamer. That was peak.
Remember when everything was the Call of Duty killer? Remember when like Killzone was like the Call of Duty killer or like
Okay,
the Halo
to be
killer?
fair, to be fair, that was a PlayStation exclusive and nobody remembers it.
Well, Killzone, and then there was also the other PlayStation game, about the bugs or something, Resistance or something like that. I
Resistance.
don't remember.
I think I vaguely
Resistance.
I
It
remember
was
the
good.
name.
It was like a single player, had like a co-op single player. They made like 3 of them.
Man.
Does
Wait,
anyone know what I'm talking
did it
about?
have
There's 3
PvP?
of them. No, maybe I might have had. Oh, was it an Insomniac game? It was actually like pretty fun. It was a first-person shooter, like more story-based. It had co-op. It may have had an online mode, but like it wasn't. It was more about. It was like a first-person like. Yeah, it apparently
Wait,
did have a 40-person online whatever mode. It had
this
4-player offline.
this
What?
looks like a Gears of War killer.
It was a pretty good game, but still, yeah, I don't know, wild.
Wait, Resistance is where that like spooky image of like the crawling thing is from. I don't know how
Maybe
else to describe it. It's like a
PS3 was
bald, like
wild.
crawling monster.
Yeah, maybe. You know
Oh
what
yeah,
sucks?
that's kind of crazy.
The PS3 has so many games that are just. Also, sorry to sidetrack myself. I'm looking at the protagonist. It looks like, and he's just the Cole from Infamous. It's just like shaved Space Marine man.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, and Nico. It's just like everyone. I forgot that was like a
Oh,
and everything's brown. It was that era of gaming.
oh, an article from 2021 says that Sony turned down Resistance 4 because it was too thematically similar to The Last of Us. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That there's so many like weirdo franchises that were on PS3 that just died on PS3, never to be
Yeah,
re-released
that was a
because of their
really bizarre
architecture.
era because like PlayStation was trying to find their footing with like these like current gen exclusives, while Xbox was just like Call of or not Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, play them.
I mean, PS3 had some stuff, I guess. It was kind of a weird time though, but it was like a good time for people who like weird games like Little Big Planet. What are some games that were like actually on? Like Infamous was cool. Uh Uncharted. People liked Uncharted. I don't know. It was like games like that, and some of them have escaped the grasp, like in God of War 3 and stuff like that.
Uh,
They escaped the grasp of that console in ports later, but like there's so much stuff
yeah,
that's just lost, never to be re-released until
yeah. You
hopefully
know what's kind of
later.
crazy? I was just thinking about like with Xbox 360. You know, they finished their two big franchises like Gears of War and Halo, and then while PlayStation was fumbling around trying to get one to work, and they put out like three games for one franchise in like 3 years. And then Xbox One came out, and they're like, wait, these franchises are like they're like over. They go to the original devs like, hey, you want to make another one of these? They're like, no. It's like,
did,
oh,
did that Gears of War Funko Pop game ever come out that they announced at like E3 one year? Gears of War Funko Pop game. Did that ever happen? Gears Pop? Oh, it was a mobile game. Did that happen?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it did happen.
Oh, it did. Oh my god. What a game that what a, like that's going to be looked back upon as one of the just like time capsules of just like what is this nightmare of a game concept? The Funko
Yeah,
Pop. One of the most like disgusting things. I mean, at least the Funko Pop it it created just a mountain of waste, a very impactful, maybe even minorly, but very probably impactful in terms of destroying the environment. Just the amount of Funko Pop waste there probably is at this point.
yeah,
Um, but just like I guess it's cool for some things where you'll get the most obscure, like you'll get the most obscure side character from a franchise that never gets merchandise, but they look
hmm
so bad. There's just almost nothing looks good in that art style, and just people love them. I don't know. They just are terrible. I think people who have bad taste and are generally just not like people who just have bad aesthetic awareness and like things that are bad enjoy Funko Pops. That's my hot take this week.
man.
Message us at
Funko Pop's bad.
HYEP podcast at gmail.com. That's HYEP podcast at gmail.com. If you're a Funko Pop apologist, um, the thing is, right? It's actually a more common and easy take to be like, "Oh, there's bad," and people and I think sometimes you don't want to fall into the take that everyone has, but they're terrible. And I will go out that I will go out and die on this hill. They look so bad. Look at like the SpongeBob Funko Pop. Google the SpongeBob Funko Pop right
Oh
now
no,
with his soulless eyes. Look at any of
SpongeBob
them.
Funko Pop.
Just anything from that line. Except Mr. Krabs actually
Here
looks
we go. Oh
okay-ish.
my god.
Oh,
Why are the
it's the
eyes? Why don't? What? Why are they just black?
look at the Barnacle Boy one. He has like white pupils. He
Oh
looks like
my
he's like possessed.
Jesus.
White pupils, but with eyelids, so it makes it worse.
Oh
Why
my
do they look
god.
so terrible? I mean, I get it because though okay, you can't do this amount of bulk with these figures. You need a consistent art style, but it just does. I mean, I guess it works for them to design them, and also at this point, Funko Pops have long passed the scope. They're all so custom modeled. These casts are a lot more in depth than they have been. They just look so bad, and we're all gonna collectively agree. in the future, we're all gonna just be like, oh my god, they're terrible, and there's just gonna be it's like a 1% increase to landfills of just waste from these figures
Yeah.
that no one wants. No one's going to want these. They're unless there's some sort of like crazy Blade Runner future where all currency is Funko Pops because they're made of some sort of material that is used in 3D printers or something, where they're melted down. There's some like dystopian future where all of our currency is Funko Pops. Who was gonna want these? They're already like liquidating stores. You used to see stores that would have wall to wall Funko Pops, and they're just like. And the weird thing is like who is buying these variants? Who is buying like they're going too far. There's like the Star Wars ones. You'll have like Venom versions of everything. So you'll have
Oh
like,
no.
oh, here's like a Spider-Man Venom Darth Vader. So it's like Venom taking over Deadpool, who's taking over Darth Vader, and it's like 15 layers of crossover, and it's just who is this for? And whatever. End of rant. I could complain more about these things that don't
I
affect
mean,
me in any way and bring some people happiness. But I don't know. Just annoying. They're just dumb and bad. Uh,
unfortunate.
yeah, that was my. James? Do you have anything to rant about? I feel like you deserve like a rant segment.
Um,
We got 10 minutes
I
left.
don't
You,
know.
you can rant.
I don't really think anything's bothering me.
I'm gonna let's rile you up
I
a
mean,
bit.
I
Let's
guess.
rile you up.
I mean, the international was this weekend.
Okay. Dota
I mean,
news.
they're so how they do it now is they have 1 week. It's like a 3-part tournament. They have 1 weekend for each. So so Valve is very experimental with this kind of stuff. They don't like doing the exact same formats repeatedly, and that's just how Valve is with most things, right? Like they like to create something and like iterate on, and if they don't like it, they just kind of throw it away and say like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so how it works now? Let me pull up the Wikipedia page. So what they're doing is they're doing a the first weekend is 4 days technically. It started on Thursday. It's like a group stage, but this time it's a four group round robin. So there's 20 teams split into 4 groups, and previously it would only be 2 groups in a round robin. And it was really funny because like you do your 4 group round robin. It's best of twos, so everybody plays like 8 games, and so there were teams that would go like 7-1 or 8-0 in their group, and then after the groups they have a phase 2 of the group stage, which is like seeding matches. So basically how it goes, you'd play a best of 3 against a if you're top 2, you'd select an opponent from a different group, and that was either third or fourth. And if you're third or fourth, you get selected. And you play these seeding matches, and it would just be one match, best of 3. If you win, you're in upper bracket. If you lose, you're in lower bracket. So essentially, like if you went 8-0 in the group stage, but then lost your seeding match, you're just lower bracket. People were kind of so some people were a little upset about it. Some people thought it was fine. It was kind of controversial, but yeah. So it was like last weekend was group stage. Next weekend is the first half of playoffs, and then the weekend after next, they're calling it the international. So the first 2 weeks are apparently the road to the international, even though it's literally just part of the tournament. It's nobody calls it that. I've not heard one person say like, yeah, one person not on like the broadcast say like, yeah, it's the road to the international. It's like, no, it's the international. You're just changing the wording.
Do you think that's because like there's a fall off in terms of people watching these early preliminary matches and they get kind of like burnt out? So they're saving the like more relevant matches to be under that branding of like now is the time to watch. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I mean, how it's always been is group stage viewership was always lower because how group stage works is they'll do like 4 games at once just for the sake of like it's for the sake of time, honestly, because like the schedules get really wonky if you only did 1 game at once, considering it's 20 teams like playing each other. Um, so yeah, it's like a bunch of games going on at once with all these different streams, and it's not a very like casual viewing experience. But I mean, additionally, it's also really low stake games. Like people want to see like the playoffs and the elimination matches and stuff. And then I think another thing is I know lots of other lots of other games will advertise it. Well, first of all, lots of other games don't have as big playoff brackets. Like Dota's always been a 16 team playoff bracket with double elimination, whereas I know League does like 8 teams and it's single elimination. So it's literally like the playoffs is a fraction of the duration. And so I think the ideas are trying to get people honed in on this small part of the tournament where like, the stakes are the highest, and it's also like all the top tier teams. So let's be real, like the people that are getting eliminated first round aren't going to have as high quality games as the people
Hmm.
making it to top 8.
Are there ever any like major upsets, or is it usually the same kind of like real? I know
Uh,
from at least from esports, like isn't there like major teams that are very like manufactured, very like this is, you know, we. th- Is there any like randos, like non-sponsored teams that like are in this?
so usually when teams qualify, they get sponsors, but there are plenty of upsets, like less popular teams like beating teams that would do well the entire year and stuff like that. I mean, there's already been a few, like some teams that are just like not performing as well as you would think. Like some teams just fumbled their seeding match or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so yeah, there's usually a lot of upsets. It's not Dota isn't franchised like League of Legends and like a few other esports are. So like these top teams aren't necessarily like guaranteed their spots. They have to earn it
Hmm.
just like everybody else pretty much. So like what you will see sometimes is like, sometimes a top team just won't qualify because like they got beat by like some unsigned team in qualifiers or something like that.
Yeah, but like John and his team, like John and the Johnny Boys, they're never going to be in the like, top 6, right? Like pretty much like you're
They
if
can
you're
be.
just like you and your friends. Has that ever happened before?
Um
Like just
I
some
mean
group
not
of friends.
not necessarily. I mean cuz like the thing is, right? You still have to be good at the game, right? Like
That's true.
so it's not like it's going to be like a random group. Like, there can be like a group of friends who are like all individually just really good at the game, and like maybe they just haven't had great teams in the past, or maybe they haven't competed very much before. Like, there are obviously like underdog stories and stuff like that. It's just it's not like literally somebody picked up Dota yesterday and it's like, yeah, I'm top 8 at the international. Like, no, that,
I
that
guess
doesn't
it is kind of a
necessarily
dumb
happen.
question of like, well, what if a team from the local basketball rink, yeah, the local basketball rink appeared and they shot
Okay.
the ball into the end zone and then they won the Super Bowl? Like, no, it's like, I was gonna go for an actual sports metaphor, then I tripped on my words.
Man.
But yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. But I'm like, maybe I think the only way that might happen is like maybe it was a group of like streamers or something who aren't competitive players, but they're all like top content creators make a team. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, you know, how,
Yeah.
like you can be like what's Dota's highest like rank in competitive rank?
It's immortal.
So maybe it was a group of all immortal friends or something, but they're not pro
Mhm.
players. Like maybe they could like that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like they could squeak out into like the top 6 or something. But I guess if you're that level, you're probably playing professionally.
Yeah,
Like
lots
if
of
you're
them do kind of just
yeah,
end up playing professionally. Like
if
Dota
you're
doesn't have
really
very
in
many like people who are just like content creators or something.
yeah.
That just kind of like, yeah, I'm like top 10 in the leaderboard, but I'm just not interested in competing at all. Like that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense cuz like with Dota it's like you're going to be if you're competitive, you're going to be like going for those tournaments stuff like why not?
Yeah.
I guess I never thought about it like I've never been in a place in any game where I've had to think about like getting past the threat. I've always been like killed by the average tier threshold or a little bit above, like the
Hmm.
gold or platinum version. You know, I'm always like pretty much in that like better than like people who are trying tier, but not good enough to be like you're that's this is my game. I'm playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we're using colors and things, I would say like like if we're doing like a gold, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, some other thing beyond diamond. I've tasted diamond, but I live in platinum kind of deal.
Damn.
Never to go. The best I can do with caring is like a platinum, and any amount would require me to actually sit down and grind a game, and I would get bored in like 2 months. Like that's the problem. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't not get bored of something after like a couple months. I will never sit down and become like a god at one game, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, well, Dota, am I right? Uh,
Am I right?
I think we can kind of wrap it up here. That's a pod. I've been
Yeah.
Matt, aka Matt Fondude. Who are you?
I'm James, aka James 04E.
And you can find me on this podcast on my YouTube channel, Matt Fondude. I haven't streamed in like 2 months or something. I'll one day I will stream again, probably.
One day.
One day it's just gonna be. It's gonna. It just has to find the right game and the right time, you know. But we'll keep the podcast rolling out. Um, but yeah, well, James, where can we find you?
Uh, can find me on the X. You know, I oh god, sorry to interrupt. I need to look this up again because I found the funniest. Okay, so if you Google Twitter, you'll find obviously you'll find X, and the tag is X. It's what's happening. Not even kidding. It just says that.
Remember,
So
listeners, it's the HYEP podcast. It's what's happening.
yeah, I'm on X. It's what's happening.
That what a great slogan and a great place to end the podcast. Goodbye.